The galaxy was a crucible of chaos, forged anew each day by the relentless fires of the Clone Wars. On the vibrant yet treacherous planet of Felucia, where towering fungi painted the landscape in hues of purple, blue, and green, the forces of the Galactic Republic clashed with the Separatist Alliance in a brutal struggle for dominance. The air was thick with humidity and the acrid scent of blaster fire, a testament to the war's unyielding grip on even the most remote corners of the cosmos. Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker, celebrated as one of the Republic's greatest warriors, fought at the heart of the conflict. His blue lightsaber hummed through the dense jungle, a beacon of light as he deflected blaster bolts and carved through battle droids with lethal precision. Beside him, Obi-Wan Kenobi, his mentor and friend, moved with the calm assurance of a seasoned Jedi. His own blade a steady counterpoint to Anakin's ferocity. "Anakin, behind you!" Obi-Wan shouted, his voice cutting through the din as a squad of super battle droids emerged from the undergrowth, their heavy blasters primed. Anakin spun, summoning the Force to hurl the droids backward into a cluster of luminescent mushrooms. With a series of swift strikes, he reduced them to sparking wreckage. "Thanks, Master. These droids don't know when to quit." "They don't," Obi-Wan replied, parrying a shot from a droidecker rolling into position, "but we must press forward." The Republic's clone troopers advanced through the chaos, their white armor streaked with dirt and ash. Their blasters laid down a barrage of fire, holding the line against the seemingly endless waves of Separatist forces. Yet the battle was a meat grinder, claiming the lives with every passing moment. As Anakin fought, his mind drifted from the immediacy of combat. He had joined the Jedi Order to bring peace, to protect the innocent, not to wage war. The thrill of battle still surged within him, but a shadow of doubt had begun to creep into his heart. Was this endless violence truly the path to a better galaxy? Or had the Jedi lost their way? A deafening explosion snapped him back to reality. A Republic gunship, struck by anti-aircraft fire, spiraled into the jungle, erupting in a fireball that illuminated the canopy. Anakin's chest tightened as he thought of the clone crew, men he'd fought alongside, now gone in an instant. "We need to end this, Obi-Wan," he said, his voice taut as he deflected another volley. "Too many are dying." Obi-Wan nodded, his expression grim. "Let's take their command center. It's our best chance." Together they spearheaded a daring assault on the Separatist stronghold, a fortified bunker nestled among the fungal spires. Anakin used the Force to clear a path, toppling droids and uprooting trees, while Obi-Wan guarded his flank, his lightsaber a whirlwind of defense. After a fierce struggle, they breached the bunker's defenses. Anakin darted to the control panels, disabling the droid command systems with a few deft commands. The remaining Separatist forces collapsed, their mechanical bodies lifeless. Stepping outside, Anakin surveyed the battlefield. The jungle bore the scars of war, smoking craters, shattered flora, and the bodies of clones and droids alike. Victory felt hollow, overshadowed by the cost. Later, at the Republic base camp, Anakin retreated to his quarters, seeking solitude. He sat on his bunk, staring at the wall as his thoughts churned. The war had stretched on for years, eroding the Jedi's numbers and ideals. Once peacekeepers, they were now generals, their hands stained with blood. He had always believed in the Jedi's mission, to safeguard the Republic and uphold justice, but cracks had formed in that belief. The Republic was riddled with corruption, its Senate a cesspool of greed and inaction. The Jedi, too, seemed fallible, their rigid traditions blinding them to the galaxy's shifting tides. And the Separatists, for all their brutality, claimed to fight for liberation from a decaying system. A knock interrupted his reverie. "Come in!" he called. Obi-Wan entered, his face etched with concern. "Anakin, you've been distant. What's on your mind?" Anakin hesitated, then spoke. "Master, do you ever wonder if we're on the right side?" Obi-Wan frowned. "What do you mean?" "The Republic's flawed," Anakin said, frustration seeping into his tone. "The Senate's corrupt, and the Jedi, we're not perfect either. Sometimes I think the Separatists might be right about some things." Obi-Wan sat beside him. "Anakin, the Separatists are led by those who crave power. They use terror to impose their will. We can't condone that." "But what if they're right about the Republic's rot?" Anakin pressed. "What if it's too broken to save?" "Then we fix it from within," Obi-Wan said firmly. "Not by tearing it apart." Anakin sighed. "I know you're right, but it's hard to see a way out of this mess." "Trust in the Force," Obi-Wan said, resting a hand on his shoulder. "It will guide us." Obi-Wan left, but Anakin's doubts lingered, a quiet storm brewing within him. After the battle, as the clones tended to their wounded, Anakin approached a group gathered around a campfire. Their armor was battered, their faces weary, but resolute. "Mind if I join you?" he asked. "Of course, General Skywalker," said Rex, a seasoned trooper gesturing to a spot. Anakin sat, accepting a cup of stimcaf. "How are you holding up?" "We're managing, sir," Rex replied. "It's been rough, but we're built for this." "You're more than soldiers," Anakin said. "You're men with lives, families. Don't you ever question this war?" The clones exchanged glances. "It's not our place to question," Rex said. "We follow orders." "But you must feel something," Anakin insisted. "All this death, what's it for?" Fives, another trooper, spoke up. "Sir, we've heard rumors the war might end soon. Any truth to that?" Anakin shook his head. "I wish there were. The Separatists won't yield, and the Republic won't either." The clones nodded, their silence heavy. As Anakin left, he felt a pang of responsibility. These men deserved better than to be cogs in an endless machine. The next day, on a solo reconnaissance mission to a captured Separatist facility, Anakin explored deeper into the complex. Amidst the wreckage of droid assembly lines, he noticed a hidden door camouflaged against the wall. Using the Force, he opened it, revealing a small room lined with data terminals. Curious, he accessed one, decrypting files with practiced ease. Most were routine, supply logs, troop movements, but one encrypted message stood out. Cracking it open, he froze as he read its contents. It was from Count Dooku to General Grievous, detailing the clone army's origins. The army had been commissioned by a Sith Lord, Darth Tyrannus, who was Dooku himself. Worse, the Jedi Council had known of its dubious creation but chose to deploy it, deeming it essential to counter the Separatists. Anakin's hands shook. The Jedi, champions of the light, had used a Sith-crafted tool. Digging deeper, he found communications between the Council and the Kaminoans, acknowledging concerns, yet proceeding regardless. Anger and betrayal surged within him. How could the Jedi who warned against the dark side justify this? They'd risked the galaxy on a gamble. He stormed back to the base, confronting Obi-Wan. "Master, I found something. The clone army. It was made by Dooku, a Sith. The Council knew and used it anyway." Obi-Wan's face tightened. "Anakin, it's true the army's origins are murky. When the war began, we had no choice. The Separatists were winning." "But a Sith army?" Anakin demanded. "What if it's a trap?" "The Council took control to mitigate the risk," Obi-Wan said. "It was necessary." "Necessary?" Anakin snapped. "It's reckless. What if there's a hidden command?" "We found no evidence of that," Obi-Wan replied. "The clones are loyal." "Loyalty can be twisted," Anakin said, shaking his head. "You know that." Obi-Wan sighed. "Anakin, focus on the now. The war demands it." But Anakin couldn't dismiss it. The Jedi's hypocrisy had shattered his faith. Weeks later, his disillusionment grew. The war felt futile, a clash of flawed powers. Then a cryptic message arrived on his communicator. "Seek the truth the Jedi hide. Sereno awaits." Suspicious but intrigued, Anakin traveled to the coordinates, arriving at a secluded estate. Count Dooku greeted him. "Welcome, Skywalker," Dooku said smoothly. "I sense your doubts." "What do you want?" Anakin asked, hand on his lightsaber. "To offer a path," Dooku replied. "The Jedi are hypocrites, the Republic corrupt. Join us to forge a new order." "You're a Sith," Anakin said. "Why trust you?" "I was a Jedi once," Dooku said. "I left for the same reasons you question them. There's a greater threat, a darkness beyond us all. The Jedi ignore it, we don't." Anakin's curiosity flared. "What threat?" "Join us and see," Dooku said. "The galaxy needs you." "I'll think on it," Anakin replied, wary but tempted. Back at base, he confided in Padmé. "The Jedi used a Sith army, Padmé. Dooku claims there's a bigger threat." She frowned. "Anakin, the Separatists are dangerous. Be careful." "I know," he said, "but maybe I can change them. The Republic's stagnant." "I'll support you," she said, taking his hand, "but think it through." After days of reflection, Anakin chose to join the Separatists. Not from hate, but hope for change. That night, Obi-Wan confronted him. "Anakin, what's wrong?" "I'm leaving," Anakin said, "to join the Separatists." Obi-Wan's face fell. "No! They'll corrupt you!" "I have to," Anakin said. "The Jedi and Republic are broken." "Please don't!" Obi-Wan pleaded, grabbing his arm. Anakin pulled free. "I'm sorry, Master." He boarded his ship, leaving Obi-Wan behind, and set course for an uncertain future. The sleek, silver Naboo starship sliced through the starry void, its engines humming softly as it carried Anakin Skywalker toward an uncertain future. Once hailed as a hero of the Republic, Anakin was now a defector, his decision to join the Separatists born from disillusionment with the Jedi Order and the Republic they served. The revelations about the clone army's origins, created in secret, manipulated by shadowy forces, had shattered his trust. He could no longer fight for a cause he deemed corrupt. Yet as he gripped the controls, his mind churned with doubt, determination, and the lingering echo of Padmé's voice urging him to turn back. His destination was Raxus, the political hub of the Separatist Alliance, a planet of sprawling cities and verdant landscapes untouched by the scars of war. Count Dooku had provided the coordinates, and Anakin's starship descended toward a discreet landing pad on the capital's outskirts. As the ramp lowered, he stepped onto the soil of his new allegiance, greeted by a small delegation. At its head stood a tall, elegant woman with sharp features and piercing blue eyes. "Welcome, Anakin Skywalker," she said, her voice smooth yet authoritative. "I am Mina Bonteri, representative of the Separatist Parliament. Count Dooku speaks highly of you." Anakin inclined his head, his expression guarded. "Thank you, Senator Bonteri. I'm here to help end this war." Bonteri's lips curved into a faint, wry smile. "A noble ambition, but one that demands more than your prowess in battle. Come, let us discuss your purpose here." She gestured toward the sleek transport, and they sped toward the city center. As the landscape blurred past, Bonteri offered a concise overview of the Separatist Alliance. "We are not a unified front, Skywalker. Our coalition comprises diverse factions. Some seek independence, others reform, and a few pursue more aggressive ends." Anakin listened intently. "And your stance, Senator?" "I envision a galaxy free from the Republic's overreach," she replied, her tone resolute. "But I favor peace over bloodshed. Diplomacy, however, often yields to the clamor of war." Their conversation paused as the transport reached the Separatist Parliament, a towering edifice of durasteel and glass that gleamed under Raxus's twin suns. Inside, Anakin met other leaders: Newt Gunray, the oily viceroy of the Trade Federation, and Wat Tambor, the Techno-Union's calculating foreman. Their welcomes were polite but tinged with suspicion, their eyes assessing the former Jedi. Anakin sensed his presence was both an asset and a risk. His reputation could elevate their cause, yet his unproven loyalty cast a shadow. That evening in the solitude of his quarters, Anakin activated his hollow communicator. Padmé's image flickered into view, her face a blend of relief and worry. "Anakin, are you safe?" "For now," he murmured, keeping his voice low. "I'm on Raxus, meeting with their leaders. It's not what I expected." Her brow furrowed, her eyes searching his. "I still can't fathom this choice. The Republic needs you, Anakin, and the Jedi need you." "The Jedi are complicit," he snapped, frustration flaring. "They knew about the clone army's origins and hid it. How can I trust them?" Padmé sighed, her shoulders slumping. "I understand your anger, but the Separatists, they've caused so much pain." "Not all of them," he countered. "There are people here who want justice, Padmé. People I can relate to." She fell silent, then nodded reluctantly. "Just be careful. I can't lose you." "You won't," he vowed, though this promise felt fragile against the storm brewing within him. The following morning, Anakin was summoned to a private chamber where Count Dooku awaited. The Sith Lord's presence was commanding, his silver hair and dark robes accentuating his air of authority. "Skywalker," he greeted with a measured smile. "Are you finding your place among us?" "As well as I can," Anakin replied. "But I didn't come here for politics. I want to act." Dooku's eyes glinted with approval. "And you will. The Republic weakens, yet it clings to power. We must strike decisively. Anakin leaned forward. What's the plan? A series of targeted assaults on Republic strongholds, Dooku explained. Precision is key. We aim to disrupt, not destroy needlessly. Relieved by the strategy's restraint, Anakin nodded. I'm in. What's my role? Your first task is to lead a strike on Christophsis, Dooku said. A communications hub there sustains their command network. Cripple it and their coordination falters. Anakin's mind raced. Christophsis was a fortress world, its crystal spires masking a formidable defense. I'll need a strong team. You'll have one, Dooku assured him, and you'll work with Admiral Trench, a commander of unmatched skill. The name sent a shiver through Anakin. Trench, a harsh strategist, was infamous for his ruthless tactics. This partnership would test Anakin's principles. On Coruscant, the Jedi Temple buzzed with tension. Obi-Wan Kenobi stood before the Council, his face lined with anguish. Masters, Anakin's defection is a crisis. We must respond. Mace Windu's expression was stern. Skywalker's power in Separatist hands is dangerous. Yoda's ears drooped, his voice soft. Lost he is not. Hope remains. But we must act, Windu pressed. I suggest a team to track him, perhaps persuade him to return. Obi-Wan stepped forward. Let me go. I know him best. Windu shook his head. Your bond clouds your judgment. We need detachment. Then who? Obi-Wan asked. Ahsoka Tano, Windu proposed. Her skill and connection to Anakin make her ideal. Obi-Wan hesitated, then relented. I'll go with her. She'll need support. Yoda nodded. Go. You both shall. May the Force guide you. On Raxus, Anakin met Admiral Trench, a hulking figure with multiple eyes and a menacing aura. Skywalker? Trench rasped. I hear you lead this mission. Prove your worth. Anakin met his stare. I will, but we focus on the objective, no unnecessary bloodshed. Trench's mandibles twitched, a hint of amusement in his tone. We'll see. The strike team assembled, battle droids, elite commandos, and a handful of organic troops. Anakin felt a pang as he surveyed the droids, echoes of past battles against them resurfacing. Now, they marched under his command. As they boarded the transport, Anakin sensed a presence, faint yet familiar. Unbeknownst to him, Ahsoka and Obi-Wan were already en route to Christophsis, intent on intercepting his mission. The assault on Christophsis erupted in chaos. Crystal towers gleamed under a sky torn by blaster fire as Anakin led the charge. His lightsaber hummed, deflecting bolts and slicing through defenses with precision. The Separatist forces pressed forward, overwhelming the clone troopers guarding the hub. Each familiar helmet twisted Anakin's gut. Soldiers he'd once led, now enemies. He buried the guilt, focusing on the target. The communications hub loomed ahead, its spire pulsing with Republic signals. A voice cut through the din. Anakin! He spun to see Ahsoka, her dual lightsabers blazing, blocking his path. Ahsoka, why are you here? To stop you, she said, her voice firm despite the pain in her eyes. This isn't you. You don't get it, he retorted. The Republic's rotten. I'm building something better. With them? Ahsoka gestured at the droids. They're manipulating you. Obi-Wan emerged, his presence a quiet storm. Anakin, come back. There's still time. Anakin's resolve wavered, then hardened. I can't, Master, not yet. The moment shattered as Trench's forces unleashed a barrage, forcing all to scatter. Seizing the opportunity, Anakin fought to the hub, disabling it with a single, decisive strike. The spire went dark, Republic transmission silenced. He glanced back to see Ahsoka and Obi-Wan retreating, their figures swallowed by smoke. Regret gnawed at him, but he turned away. His choice was made. On Raxus, Anakin returned to acclaim. The mission's success bolstered Separatist morale, and his status among them solidified. Yet unease lingered. Late one night, sifting through intelligence files, he uncovered an encrypted message. Cracking it revealed a dialogue between Dooku and an unknown figure, hinting at a greater plan and a coming darkness. Anakin's pulse quickened. What secrets did Dooku guard, and how did they tie to the war's true stakes? Determined to unearth the truth, he steeled himself for the path ahead. a path that could redefine the galaxy's fate. Anakin Skywalker stood atop a grassy knoll in Raxus, the Separatist capital, gazing out over the sprawling training grounds below. The air was cool and crisp, carrying the faint, sweet scent of blooming florets as the twin suns cast a golden hue across the landscape. Battle droids marched in perfect unison, their metallic feet striking the earth with a rhythmic thud that echoed through the valley. Nearby, organic soldiers, humans, Geonosians, and a smattering of other species from the galaxy's outer rim, engaged in combat drills, their shouts and grunts blending with the hum of machinery. It was a scene of order and determination, a stark contrast to the chaos Anakin had known in the Republic's clone armies. He watched with a complex mix of emotions swirling in his chest, admiration for the discipline before him, unease at commanding forces he'd once opposed, and a lingering sense of betrayal from the Jedi Order he'd left behind. These droids, once his enemies, now moved at his direction. The soldiers, too, were a motley crew, each driven by personal stakes, freedom from Republic tyranny, vengeance against a corrupt system, or simply the thrill of war. Anakin couldn't help but compare them to the clones he'd fought alongside for years, brave, loyal, but bred for battle with no agency of their own. The revelation of their engineered origins still gnawed at him, fueling his defection to the Separatists. "Impressive, isn't it?" a voice interrupted his thoughts. Anakin turned to see Senator Mina Boundary approaching, her elegant robes rippling in the breeze. Her presence was a rare beacon of idealism amid the Separatists' often ruthless pragmatism. "It is," he admitted, his voice steady but tinged with introspection. "They're more disciplined than I expected." Bonteri smiled, her sharp blue eyes scanning the grounds with a hint of pride. "Many here fight for a cause they believe in, not just for power or profit. It's a stark contrast to the Republic's clone armies, who have no say in their fate." Her words struck a chord. Anakin thought of the clones. Jango Fett's genetic legacy, created in secret on Kamino, their lives predetermined by others. "It's refreshing," he said, though the word felt inadequate to capture the turmoil within him. Refreshing, yes, but also unsettling. The clones had been his brothers in arms, yet their existence was a lie he could no longer ignore. As they descended the knoll toward the command center, Anakin's mind drifted to the encrypted message he'd stumbled upon in Count Dooku's files after arriving on Raxus. The phrases "greater plan" and "coming darkness" echoed in his thoughts, elusive and ominous. He needed answers, but Dooku was a master of deception, and trust was a scarce commodity among the Separatist leaders. Anakin resolved to proceed with caution, his instincts honed by years of Jedi training now serving a new purpose. Inside the command center, a heated debate raged. Newt Gunray's holographic form flickered as he gesticulated wildly, his voice shrill with impatience. "We must strike Coruscant directly. The Republic is vulnerable, and a bold move could end this war once and for all." Wat Tambor, his mechanical voice modulator buzzing, countered with measured logic. "Too risky. Our resources are stretched thin as it is. We need to consolidate our gains and fortify our positions." Anakin stepped forward, his tall frame casting a shadow across the room. "Coruscant's defenses are formidable," he said, his tone firm and authoritative. "A direct assault would be suicide. We'd lose more than we'd gain." Gunray sneered, his beady eyes narrowing. "And what would you know, Jedi?" "Former Jedi," Anakin corrected sharply, his voice cutting through the tension like a vibroblade. "And I know the Republic's strengths better than most. Their military is entrenched, and their leadership is resolute. We need a smarter approach, not a reckless one." The room fell silent as Count Dooku entered, his dark robes flowing like liquid shadow. His presence was commanding, his gaze piercing. "Skywalker is correct," he said smoothly. "Patience is key. We will strike when the time is right, not before." The meeting dragged on, but Anakin's focus wavered. He needed access to Dooku's private files to peel back the layers of secrecy shrouding the war. Direct confrontation was impossible. Dooku was too powerful, too cunning. Stealth, then, would be his path, though the facility bristled with security droids and watchful eyes. As the council dispersed, Anakin lingered, observing Dooku as he murmured with Tambor. There was a glint in the Sith Lord's eyes, a hint of something sinister beneath his polished exterior. Anakin's resolve hardened. He would uncover the truth, no matter the cost. Meanwhile, on Coruscant, The Jedi Temple hummed with an undercurrent of tension. In the Council's circular chamber high above the bustling cityscape, Mace Windu stood before his fellow masters, his expression carved from stone. "Anakin's defection has emboldened the Separatists," he declared, his deep voice resonating. "Their attacks are growing more strategic, more coordinated. He's tipping the scales." Master Yoda, perched in his hovering chair, leaned forward, his gnarled hands resting on his staff. His ears drooped slightly, a rare sign of concern. A grave threat, he poses, yet his heart, conflicted it remains. "Sense it, I do." Obi-Wan Kenobi, standing to the side, stepped forward, his blue eyes clouded with worry. "We must reach out to him, appeal to his better nature. There's still good in him. I know it." Windu shook his head, his bald scalp gleaming under the chamber's soft light. "He's made his choice, Obi-Wan. We need to focus on containing the damage. The longer he remains with the Separatists, the more dangerous he becomes." Ahsoka Tano's holographic image flickered into view, transmitted from her ship in orbit. Her Leku twitched slightly as she spoke, her voice firm despite her youth. "Master Windu, with all due respect, Anakin can still be saved. I felt it on Christophsis. He's not fully committed to their cause. He's searching for something." Yoda nodded slowly, his wise eyes narrowing. "Hope? There is. But caution we must exercise. A delicate situation, this is." The debate stretched on, voices rising and falling like the tides. Obi-Wan argued for redemption, Windu for pragmatism, while others weighed the risks of inaction. Finally, a decision emerged. A covert team would be dispatched to monitor Anakin's movements, and, if possible, make contact. Obi-Wan and Ahsoka were chosen to lead the mission, despite Windu's reservations about Obi-Wan's emotional ties to his former apprentice. "May the Force be with you both," Yoda intoned as they departed, his words a quiet prayer against the gathering storm. Back on Raxus, Anakin felt the weight of isolation pressing in. The Separatist leaders valued his tactical prowess. His leadership on Christophsis had proven that, but they distrusted his motives, whispering of his Jedi past behind closed doors. He needed an ally, a guide through this treacherous maze of ambition and deceit. That evening he sought out Mina Bonteri in her private office, a modest space adorned with artifacts from her homeworld of Onderon. "Senator, I need your help," he said, closing the door with a soft click. Bonteri looked up from her datapad, her expression a blend of curiosity and caution. "With what, Skywalker?" "I believe there's more to this war than either side admits," he said, lowering his voice. "I need access to restricted files, ones Dooku keeps hidden." She studied him for a long moment, her piercing gaze assessing his intent. "You're playing a dangerous game," she said at last, "but perhaps I can assist. Meet me at the archives tonight, after the third moon rises. Come alone." Anakin nodded, a flicker of gratitude warming his chest. "Thank you, Senator." As he left, a chill ran down his spine, a sensation of being watched. He scanned the corridor but saw only shadows. Paranoia, he told himself, though he knew better. In this den of vipers, vigilance was survival. On Naboo, Padmé Amidala sat alone in her private chambers, the soft glow of a holo communicator casting shadows across her face. She had tried to reach Anakin directly, but his channels were severed, his ties to the Republic's networks cut like a lifeline. Desperation gnawed at her, a quiet ache beneath her composed exterior. She loved him, flawed, fierce, and now lost to a path she couldn't follow, but she wouldn't give up. "Captain Typho!" she called, her voice steady despite the turmoil within. Her security chief entered, his dark uniform crisp, his single eye meeting hers with unwavering loyalty. "Yes, Senator." "I need a favor," she said, rising to face him. "I need to send a message to Anakin, discreetly." Typho's brow furrowed, his lone eye widening slightly. That could be complicated. The Republic monitors all communications, and the Separatists are just as vigilant. "I know," Padmé replied, her tone resolute. "But it's vital. I have to reach him." Typho hesitated, then bowed his head. "I'll find a way. I have contacts, smugglers, traders, who can bypass the usual channels." She handed him a small data chip, her fingers trembling faintly. "This message must reach him. Please, make sure it does." As Typho departed, Padmé sank back into her chair, staring out at the tranquil lakes of Naboo. She whispered a silent prayer that her words would pierce the darkness enveloping Anakin's heart. That night, under a sky streaked with the glow of Raxus's 3 moons, Anakin slipped into the archives. The vast chamber was a labyrinth of data terminals, their screens casting a faint blue light across the polished floors. Mina Bonteri awaited him, her posture tense, a blaster discreetly holstered at her side. "We don't have much time," she whispered, her breath visible in the cool air. "The security droids will notice our presence soon." They approached a terminal, and Anakin set to work, his fingers flying across the controls as he decrypted the restricted files. His Jedi-honed instincts and mechanical aptitude made quick work of the encryption, revealing a trove of classified documents. What he found stole the breath from his lungs. The clone army's creation was no accident, engineered by the Sith, as he'd suspected, but the depth of the manipulation was staggering. The clones bore inhibitor chips, tiny devices buried in their brains to ensure absolute loyalty. But to whom? Anakin's blood ran cold as he dug deeper. The chips could be triggered to turn the clones against the Jedi, a failsafe to eliminate the Order in a single catastrophic strike. "This is monstrous," he whispered, his voice trembling with a mix of rage and horror. Bonteri nodded, her face pale. "And it gets worse. There's evidence the Sith are manipulating both sides of the war, orchestrating it to consolidate power." Anakin's mind reeled. The Republic, the Separatists, puppets in a grander scheme, their soldiers and citizens mere pawns. Before he could process further, alarms blared, red lights flashing across the chamber. "Intruder alert!" a mechanical voice boomed. They fled, weaving through the rows of terminals as security droids clanked into pursuit. Anakin ignited his lightsaber, deflecting blaster bolts, while Bonteri fired precise shots from her blaster. They escaped by a hair's breadth, slipping into the shadows outside. As they parted, Bonteri gripped his arm. "Be careful, Skywalker. Trust no one. Spies are everywhere." The next morning, Dooku summoned Anakin to his private chambers, a dimly lit sanctum adorned with relics of a bygone era. "We have a new mission for you," the Sith Lord said, his voice smooth as silk. "The planet of Umbara has declared neutrality, but we believe they secretly support the Republic. Investigate and, if necessary, secure their allegiance." Anakin saw an opportunity. Umbara, shrouded in perpetual twilight, was famed for its advanced technology and shadowy politics, perhaps a place to uncover more about the conspiracy. "I'll need a small team," he said, already plotting his approach. Dooku inclined his head. "Take who you need, but remember failure is not an option. The Separatists' own success hinges on your actions." As Anakin prepared, a coded message arrived via a secure channel. Padmé's voice relayed through Typho's contacts. "Anakin, I know you're seeking the truth, but please don't lose yourself in the process. The Republic may be flawed, but it's worth saving. Come back to me." Her words pierced him, a bittersweet reminder of the life he left behind. But he steeled himself. There was no turning back. Not yet. On Umbara, Anakin and his team, battle droids and elite commandos, infiltrated the capital city, a maze of towering spires wreathed in mist. The air was thick, the light dim, casting everything in shades of gray. They met the Umbaran minister in a grand hall, his gaunt frame and piercing eyes exuding cold authority. "We remain neutral," he insisted. "We have no interest in your war." Anakin's instincts screamed otherwise. The minister's tone was too polished, his denials too practiced. That night, posing as a diplomatic envoy, Anakin slipped into the minister's office, hacking into the secure systems with deft precision. The truth emerged. Umbara was supplying the Republic with advanced weaponry and intelligence cloaked under a neutrality's guise. Before he could act, blaster fire erupted outside. Republic forces, led by Obi-Wan Kenobi and Ahsoka Tano, launched a surprise assault. Anakin raced into the fray, his lightsaber a blur of blue as he deflected bolts. He locked blades with Obi-Wan, their movements a mirror of battles past. "Anakin, this must end!" Obi-Wan pleaded, sweat beading on his brow. "Come back with us!" "I can't!" Anakin shouted, the clash of their sabers ringing out. "You don't understand what's at stake. The Republic's being manipulated just like the Separatists." "Then make me understand," Obi-Wan pressed, parrying a strike. An explosion rocked the city, cutting their exchange short. The Umbarans, enraged, unleashed their military might. Tanks, airships, stealth-clad soldiers. Amid the chaos, Anakin called out, "Help me stop this madness!" Obi-Wan hesitated, then joined him, their lightsabers weaving a dance of unity. Ahsoka flanked them, protecting civilians. When the dust settled, the Umbarans, impressed by their restraint, agreed to negotiate with the Separatists. A fragile victory. During the talks, Anakin sensed discord among his delegation. Poggle the Lesser, a gruff Geonosian commander, bristled with agitation. "We should crush these Umbarans, not parley," he hissed to Anakin. "You're soft, Skywalker. Dooku misjudged you." "I'm here to win, not slaughter," Anakin retorted, his patience thinning. Later, in a meeting with the minister, Anakin detected a cloaked figure eavesdropping. He confronted her, a young woman, sharp-featured and defiant. "You're making a mistake," she warned. "The Separatists will betray you." "Who are you?" Anakin demanded, lowering his saber. "Lux Bonteri," she said. "Mina's daughter, Republic spy. Neither side fights for the people, they're all pawns." Before he could respond, alarms sounded. Another Republic attack. In the chaos, Poggle ordered an indiscriminate assault, sabotaging the talks. Anakin dueled him, disarming the Geonosian, only for Lux to shoot Poggle dead to save him. They escaped, but doubt gnawed at Anakin. If betrayal festered within the Separatists, who could he trust? Back on Raxus, Anakin reported to Dooku, omitting Poggle's treachery and Lux's role. "You've done well," Dooku said, his gaze inscrutable, "but loyalty is fleeting in war." That night a new message arrived, anonymous and cryptic. "Seek the truth on Kamino. The clone's secrets lie there. Trust no one." Padmé's latest plea followed. "Anakin, the Jedi are planning something big. Be careful. I love you." His path was clear but perilous. Kamino awaited, and with it, the next piece of the puzzle. The sleek silver starship sliced through the stormy skies of Kamino, its engines a low hum against the howling winds that battered the planet's surface. Anakin Skywalker gripped the controls, his knuckles white, as he wrestled with the turbulent descent. Rain lashed against the viewport, blurring the endless expanse of ocean below, interrupted only by the towering, stilted cities of the Kaminoans, rising like sentinels from the waves. This was a world of secrets, a cradle of creation and manipulation, a fitting stage for the next chapter in his unraveling destiny. The landing platform materialized through the storm, and Anakin guided the ship down with practiced precision, the landing gear hissing as it met the slick surface. He exhaled sharply, steadying himself for what awaited. The Kaminoans stood in a silent row, their long necks and unblinking eyes fixed on him as he disembarked. Their pale, elongated forms were ghostly in the dim light, their expressions unreadable yet radiating a subtle wariness. To them, he was no longer the Jedi hero of the Republic, but an enigma clad in the shadow of the Separatists. "Welcome, Anakin Skywalker," said Tanwi, the Kaminoan administrator, her voice as smooth and cold as the rain-soaked platform. "We were not expecting a visit from the Separatists." Anakin met her gaze, keeping his tone measured. "I'm here on a personal matter. I need access to your archives, specifically information about the clone army." Tanwi's eyes narrowed ever so slightly, a rare crack in her impassive demeanor. "The clone army is a Republic asset. Access to such data is restricted." "I understand the restrictions," Anakin replied, his jaw tightening. "But I have evidence of irregularities in the army's creation. Irregularities that could threaten both the Republic and the Separatists." A heavy silence followed, broken only by the relentless drumming of the rain. Tanwi considered his words, her head tilting slightly as if weighing his intent. At last, she inclined her neck in a gesture of assent. "Very well. You may access the archives under supervision, but heed this warning, Skywalker. Any misuse of this information will bring severe consequences." Anakin nodded, his mind already leaping ahead. The truth about the inhibitor chips, the revelation that had driven him from Raxus to Kamino, gnawed at him. The clones weren't merely soldiers. They were pawns in a sinister design, their loyalties a weapon waiting to be unleashed. As he followed Tanwi through the gleaming corridors of the cloning facility, the sterile white walls and faint hum of machinery pressed against him, amplifying his unease. This was a place of cold science, where life was engineered without soul, a mirror to the dark forces he now sought to unravel. The archives sprawled before him, a vast network of data terminals and holographic displays, casting a pale blue glow across the sterile chamber. Anakin worked with feverish intensity, his fingers dancing across the controls as he sliced through layers of security protocols. The Kaminoans hovered nearby, their silent scrutiny a constant pressure, but he pressed on, driven by the need for answers. Hours slipped by, and the storm outside a ceaseless roar that echoed his growing dread. At last, he uncovered the files he sought, detailed schematics of the inhibitor chips, their purpose laid bare in the chilling clarity. These tiny devices, embedded in every clone's brain, could strip away their free will, transforming them into obedient drones at the whim of a single command. And that command, he discovered, rested with the Sith. His blood ran cold as he scrolled through the contingency orders. Dozens of directives, each more terrifying than the last. Order 66 leapt from the screen like a dagger. In the event of Jedi officers acting against the interests of the Republic, the Supreme Chancellor will issue Order 66, and the clones will eliminate the Jedi. Anakin's hands trembled as he absorbed the implications. The Jedi weren't merely at risk, they were targets of a preordained slaughter, and the clones, men he'd fought beside, bled with, would be their executioners. Digging deeper, he stumbled upon a name, Tyrannus, the shadowy figure who had commissioned the clone army for the Republic. A jolt of recognition struck him. Count Dooku, the Separatist leader who had welcomed him with promises of a new order, was Tyrannus. The Sith had woven a web of deception, pitting Republic against Separatists to tighten their grip on the galaxy. Anakin's defection, his quest for justice, had been ensnared in their game. His mind reeled, torn between the ideals he'd abandoned and the betrayal he now faced. A soft chime pierced his turmoil. A message from Padmé, relayed through encrypted channels. "Anakin, I'm on my way to Kamino. I need to see you. Please, wait for me." His heart clenched. She was his anchor, his light. But Kamino was no sanctuary for her. Not now, with the storm of conflict brewing. He typed a swift reply. "Padmé, it's not safe. Turn back." Yet he knew her resolve matched his own. She would brave any danger to reach him. Above Kamino, a Republic cruiser hung in orbit, its hull glinting faintly through the clouds. Inside, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Ahsoka Tano prepared for a mission that weighed heavily on their souls. The Jedi Council had ordered them to intercept Anakin, to bring him home, or if necessary, stop him. Obi-Wan's bearded face was etched with sorrow as he briefed Ahsoka. "We must tread carefully," he said, his voice low and steady. "Anakin isn't himself. Dooku and the Separatists have clouded his judgment." Ahsoka's eyes, fierce with determination, met his. "I know, Master, but there's still good in him. I feel it. We have to reach him." Obi-Wan rested a hand on her shoulder, a rare gesture of comfort. "We will try, Ahsoka, but we must be ready for the worst." Their shuttle plunged through the storm, rain streaking across its hull as it descended. Obi-Wan's instincts prickled, a sense of impending danger he couldn't shake. Kamino was a fortress of secrets, guarded by the Kaminoans and the Republic alike. With Anakin here, it was a volatile crucible, primed to ignite. They landed amidst the tempest, greeted by clone troopers in rain-slicked armor. "General Kenobi, Commander Tano," the lead trooper said, his voice crisp through his helmet. "The Kaminoans have granted access, but under strict supervision." "Understood," Obi-Wan replied. "Take us to the archives. We need to find him." As they navigated the facility, Obi-Wan reached out with the Force, seeking Anakin. His presence blazed like a star, but it was shadowed, fractured, haunted by conflict. The bond they'd forged through years of mentorship strained under the weight of Anakin's choices. Anakin's work was disrupted by a new arrival, a Separatist agent sent by Dooku to oversee him. Merrick, a Zabrak with jagged tattoos and piercing yellow eyes, strode into the archives. His presence a coiled threat. A former bounty hunter turned operative, he exuded a raw, predatory energy. "Skywalker!" Merrick growled. "Dooku demands a report on your progress." Anakin straightened, masking his irritation. "I'm still gathering data. There's more here than we expected." Merrick's gaze bore into him. "Don't forget your place. The Separatists have given you a chance to reshape the galaxy. Don't waste it." "I'm here for the truth," Anakin shot back, unflinching. "For the Separatists, the galaxy, and myself." Merrick grunted, unconvinced, but retreated into the shadows. Anakin's pulse quickened. He was walking a razor's edge, watched by allies and enemies alike. He copied the inhibitor chip data onto a portable drive, resolved to confront Dooku, but first, he had to protect Padmé. Lieutenant! Padmé's ship broke through the storm, touching down on the platform with a whine of engines. She stepped out, her cloak whipping in the wind, her eyes scanning for Anakin. He emerged from the facility, his face a storm of relief and fear as he pulled her into his arms. "Padmé," he murmured, holding her close. "You shouldn't have come. It's too dangerous." "I had to," she said, her voice trembling yet firm. "I can't lose you. Not to this war, not to the Separatists." He drew back, searching her eyes. "I'm doing this for us, for a better galaxy. The Republic's corrupt, the Jedi are blind. I have to forge another path." Tears welled in her eyes. "But at what cost, Anakin? This path, it's darkening you. I feel it." Before he could answer, alarm shrieked through the facility. Republic ships pierced the storm, their signatures unmistakable. Obi-Wan and Ahsoka had arrived, backed by clone troopers. "They're here for me," Anakin said, his voice hollow. Padmé seized his hand. "Then let's go. Now, we'll find a way together." "I can't run," he countered, resolve hardening. "I have to face this." The facility erupted into chaos as Republic forces breached its defenses. Clone troopers clashed with Kaminoan security, blaster fire illuminating the corridors. Anakin led Padmé toward the shuttle bay, his lightsaber igniting with a snap hiss as they encountered a squad of clones. "General Skywalker, stand down!" their commander ordered, blaster raised. Anakin stepped protectively in front of Padmé. "I don't want to fight you." "Then don't," the commander replied. "Come peacefully." Anakin's gaze flickered to Padmé, then back to the troopers. With a surge of speed, he disarmed them using the Force, avoiding lethal strikes. "Go!" he shouted to Padmé. She hesitated, then dashed for the shuttle, powering it up. Anakin followed, leaping aboard as blaster bolts ricocheted off the hull. The shuttle lifted off, soaring into the tempest. Obi-Wan and Ahsoka fought their way through the fray, their lightsabers a blur of blue and green. They cornered Anakin in a cavernous chamber, his silhouette stark against the stormlit windows. "Anakin!" Obi-Wan called, his voice cutting through the din. "This must end. Come back with us." Anakin faced them, lightsaber ready. "I can't, Master. You don't see the stakes." "Then show me," Obi-Wan urged, lowering his weapon slightly. "Help me understand." Anakin's voice shook with conviction. "The clones are a Sith trap, chips in their brains, ready to turn on the Jedi. The war's a lie, orchestrated to destroy us all." Obi-Wan's face paled. "That's impossible." "It's true," Anakin insisted. "I have proof. Dooku's part of it, Tyrannus himself." Ahsoka stepped forward. "If that's real, we need you to stop it. Come back, Anakin." He shook his head. "The Jedi are too entrenched. I have to do this my way." Explosions rocked the chamber, cutting their exchange short. "Tell the Council," Anakin said, retreating. "Maybe they'll listen." He vanished into the chaos, leaving Obi-Wan and Ahsoka staring after him. In the shuttle, Anakin slumped beside Padmé, the data drive clutched in his hand. She took his other hand, her touch grounding him. "What now?" she asked softly. He met her gaze, resolve burning anew. "We expose the truth. To Dooku, to everyone, no matter the cost." The shuttle disappeared into the storm, its course set for the heart of the darkness ahead. Anakin Skywalker stood on the windswept landing platform of Raxus, the Separatist capital, his dark cloak snapping in the evening breeze. The twin suns sank below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of crimson and gold, their light reflecting off the city's towering spires and military complexes. In his gloved hand, he clutched a small data drive, the evidence from Kamino that had shattered his world. The inhibitor chips embedded in the clones, the Sith's scheme to turn them against the Jedi, the looming specter of Order 66, it was a truth too heavy to bear alone. Yet as he gazed at the bustling city below, he knew he had no choice but to confront Count Dooku. The answers he sought could no longer wait. With a determined stride, he crossed the platform and entered the Separatist headquarters. The corridors were lined with battle droids and organic guards, their eyes tracking him with a mix of reverence and wariness. Anakin's reputation as a warrior had earned him a place among the Separatists, but his Jedi's past clung to him like a shadow, a reminder of the life he'd left behind. His boots echoed on the polished Durasteel floor, each step a testament to the resolve that had brought him this far. He reached Dooku's private chambers and paused, his hand resting on the hilt of his lightsaber. Taking a deep breath, he pushed the door open and stepped inside. Count Dooku stood by a massive viewport, his back to the entrance, his silhouette framed by the fading light. His dark robes flowed like liquid shadow, and his presence radiated authority. "Skywalker," he said without turning, his voice smooth and measured. "You've returned. I trust your journey to Kamino was illuminating?" Anakin's jaw tightened, his blue eyes blazing with intensity. "It was, and I have questions that demand answers." Dooku turned slowly, his piercing gaze meeting Anakin's. "Ask then. But be mindful. Truth is a weapon that cuts both ways." Stepping forward, Anakin held up the data drive. "I found evidence of inhibitor chips in the clones, devices that can turn them into puppets against the Jedi. The Sith are behind it, aren't they? You're part of this." A faint smile tugged at Dooku's lips, his eyes glinting with something inscrutable. "You've uncovered more than I expected." "Yes, the chips ensure obedience, a safeguard against betrayal. But the Sith's vision extends far beyond such trivial measures." "Trivial?" Anakin's voice rose, anger simmering beneath his words. "You're talking about mass murder, wiping out the Jedi. How can you stand there and defend that?" Dooku's expression hardened, his tone cold and resolute. "The Jedi are relics of Skywalker, shackled to a decaying order. They've lost their purpose, blinded by the Republic's corruption. The Sith seek to forge a new galaxy, one of strength and unity." "By manipulating both sides of this war?" Anakin countered, his fists clenching. "By drowning the galaxy in blood for your so-called unity?" For a moment, Dooku's gaze softened, almost paternal. "Sacrifices pave the path to progress. You've seen the Republic's rot, the Jedi's failures. Join us fully, and you can shape what comes next." Anakin's resolve wavered, Dooku's words striking at the doubts that had plagued him since his defection. But he shook his head, his voice firm. "I didn't come here to be your tool. I want the whole truth. Now." Dooku sighed, a rare hint of fatigue in his demeanor. "Very well. The Sith's influence spans both the Separatists and the Republic. This war is a crucible designed to burn away the old and birth the new. You cannot halt it, Skywalker. You can only choose your role within it." Anakin's mind raced, piecing together the implications. "Who's orchestrating it? Who's the puppet master?" Dooku's smile returned, sharp and enigmatic. "That is a revelation you must earn. But beware, once you see the full scope, there's no retreat." Before Anakin could press further, a holographic display flickered to life, projecting Newt Gunray's anxious form. "Count Dooku!" the Viceroy squeaked. "The Republic fleet is massing near the Corellian Run. They're targeting our supply lines. We must strike now." Dooku's eyes narrowed. "Then we shall meet them with force. Skywalker, you will lead the assault. Prove your dedication to our cause." Anakin hesitated, the data drive heavy in his hand. Dooku's half-answers gnawed at him, but he knew he couldn't turn back. Not yet. "I'll do it," he said, his voice steady, "but we're not finished here." Dooku inclined his head. "Indeed. Now go. The galaxy waits." On Coruscant, the Jedi Temple's council chamber glowed with serene light, its high arches and circular design a stark contrast to the tension within. Mace Windu stood at the center, his imposing figure radiating authority. "The inhibitor chips are confirmed," he said, his voice a low rumble. "Our scouts retrieved samples from Kamino. The clones are a liability, and Anakin's defection complicates everything." Master Yoda, seated in his small chair, leaned forward, his staff tapping the floor. "Grave this news is, yet rash action we must avoid. Anakin's heart still torn, it remains. Hope? There is." Obi-Wan Kenobi stepped forward, his bearded face etched with worry. "We need to reach him, show him we're on the same side. If we can neutralize the chips, we might avert this catastrophe." Mace shook his head. "It's not so simple. The chips are integrated into the clones' neural systems. Tampering risks exposure. We must trace the command source, likely tied to the Chancellor." Ahsoka Tano's hologram flickered into view, her voice resolute. "Anakin's not gone, Masters. I've sensed it. He's fighting for truth, just in his own way. We have to trust him." Yoda's ears twitched, his wise eyes narrowing. "Trust we must, but prepare we also must. Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, to the front lines you will go. Find Anakin and guide him back if you can." Obi-Wan bowed. "We'll do all we can, Master Yoda." As the council dispersed, Obi-Wan lingered, his thoughts heavy with guilt. Anakin had been his brother, his responsibility, and he'd failed him. Yet he clung to the belief that redemption was possible. On Naboo, Padmé Amidala paced the balcony of her lakeside retreat, the tranquil waters shimmering under the moonlight. Anakin's encrypted message from Kamino replayed in her mind, his voice raw with urgency. "The clones are a trap, Padmé. The Sith are behind it all. I have to stop them." The revelations had shaken her to her core, but it was his final plea, "I need you to stay safe," that spurred her to action. She turned to Captain Typho, her trusted aide. "I'm going to him, to the front lines. He needs me." Typho's lone eye widened. "Senator, it's a war zone. The Republic's on edge, and if you're spotted—" "I don't care," Padmé cut in, her tone fierce. "Anakin's risking everything for the truth. I won't let him face it alone. Arrange a transport, discreetly." Typho hesitated, then nodded. "I'll make it happen, but please, take precautions. The galaxy needs you alive." Padmé offered a faint smile, her determination unshaken. "Thank you, Captain. I'll be ready." As Typho left, Padmé gazed at the stars, her heart aching with love and fear. Anakin was her husband, her anchor, and she would fight to bring him home. Back on Raxus, Anakin stood in the Separatist war room, holographic maps casting a blue glow across his face. The plan was audacious, a full-scale assault on the Republic fleet near the Corellian Run, a critical hyperspace lane. Success would sever the Republic's supply chain, tipping the war in the Separatists' favor. But the cost, lives, worlds, his own soul, gnawed at him. He glanced at the data drive, its secrets still locked within. Dooku's words echoed, "A crucible to burn away the old." What did the Sith truly want? And who held the reins? "General Skywalker," a tactical droid droned. "The fleet is primed." "Your orders?" Anakin straightened, burying his doubts. "Launch the attack. Target their command structure. May the Force guide us." The room buzzed with activity as the Separatist armada mobilized. Anakin's pulse quickened, a mix of resolve and dread fueling his steps toward the flagship. Space erupted into chaos as the Separatist fleet dropped out of hyperspace, their ships a relentless wave of destruction. Republic cruisers scrambled to respond, their turbo lasers painting the void with streaks of fire. Anakin aboard the flagship Reckoning directed the assault with surgical precision, his voice cutting through the comms. "Concentrate fire on their lead cruiser," he commanded. "Disrupt their chain of command." Starfighters darted through the fray, explosions blooming like flowers of death. Anakin's prowess as a tactician shone, the Separatists gaining ground with each maneuver. Yet every fallen Republic ship twisted the knife in his gut. These were once his allies, now casualties of his choice. A familiar presence brushed his senses. Obi-Wan and Ahsoka, aboard a Republic vessel. They'd come for him. Anakin's grip tightened on the controls, his resolve steeling. He couldn't face them. Not yet. A Republic shuttle broke through the chaos, its course set for the Reckoning. Anakin's breath caught as he recognized its signature. Padmé. "No," he whispered, dread flooding his chest. Obi-Wan's voice crackled over the comms. "Anakin, this is Obi-Wan! Stand down! We need to talk!" Anakin's hand hovered, torn between duty and longing. "I can't, Master. Not now." "Please, Anakin," Ahsoka pleaded. "You're not this person. Come back to us." Their words pierced him, but he shook his head. "You don't see it. The war's a lie. I'm trying to end it." "Then let us help," Obi-Wan urged, "and together we can fix this." Anakin's eyes flicked to the viewport as Padmé's shuttle docked. "I have to do this my way. I'm sorry." He severed the link, his heart pounding. Moments later, Padmé stormed onto the bridge, her eyes blazing with fear and love. "Anakin!" she cried, rushing to him. "What are you doing? This isn't you!" He turned to her, his expression a storm of conflict. "Padmé, you shouldn't be here. It's too dangerous." "I had to come," she said, her voice trembling. "You're fighting for the truth. I believe that, but not like this." Before he could respond, alarms blared. Obi-Wan and Ahsoka had boarded, their lightsabers igniting in the corridor beyond. The standoff had begun. Obi-Wan and Ahsoka advanced, their blades casting blue and green light across the bridge. "Anakin!" Obi-Wan called, his tone steady but pained. "This ends now. Come with us." Anakin ignited his own saber, its blue glow a mirror to Obi-Wan's. "I can't. You don't understand what's at stake." Ahsoka stepped forward, her eyes pleading. "We do, Snips. The Chips, the Sith. We're on the same side. Don't make us fight you." Padmé placed herself between them, her voice rising. "Stop this, all of you. Anakin's right. The war's a deception. We need to work together." The tension held, blades humming until a transmission interrupted. A Separatist officer's voice crackled. "General, we've intercepted a Republic signal. It's from the Chancellor, ordering the clones to execute Order 66. Anakin's blood ran cold. "What?" The officer continued. "The signal's encrypted, but it matches the chip protocols. It's Palpatine. He's the Sith Lord." Anakin staggered, the data drive slipping from his hand. Palpatine, his mentor, his confidant, had orchestrated it all. The war, the chips, the betrayal. Dooku's half-truth snapped into focus. Padmé grabbed his arm. "Anakin, this changes everything. You don't have to do this alone." Obi-Wan lowered his saber, his voice soft. "He's right, Anakin. We can stop him. Together." Ahsoka nodded, hope flickering in her eyes. "You're still one of us." Anakin's gaze darted between them, the weight of the revelation crushing him. Palpatine's betrayal fueled his rage, but their presence, Padmé's love, Obi-Wan's faith, Ahsoka's trust, offered a lifeline. The battle raged outside, the Separatists faltering without his command. Anakin retrieved the data drive, his mind racing. He could stay with the Separatists, expose a Palpatine from within. He could return to the Jedi, fight as one of them, or he could forge a new path free of both sides' chains. "I need time," he said, his voice raw. "To think." Padmé squeezed his hand. "We'll be with you, whatever you choose." Obi-Wan nodded. "But decide quickly. The galaxy's running out of time." A transmission from Dooku flickered on screen, his tone urgent. "Skywalker, the battle turns against us. Where are you?" Anakin stared at the faces around him, then at the stars beyond. The truth was his burden now, and his choice would shape the galaxy's fate. Anakin Skywalker sat alone in his quarters aboard the Separatist flagship, Reckoning. The room was a stark, utilitarian space. Bare metal walls, a single viewport revealing the endless streaks of hyperspace stars, and minimal furnishings. A narrow bunk, a small desk, and a locker for his gear. It was a far cry from the warmth of Padmé's apartment on Coruscant or the serene halls of the Jedi Temple. The cold, functional design mirrored his current state of mind, adrift, uncertain, and isolated. In his hand he clutched a small data drive, its sleek, cylindrical surface cool against his palm. This unassuming device held explosive truths, evidence of the inhibitor chips implanted in the clones, the sinister Order 66 protocol, and the shattering revelation that Chancellor Palpatine was the Sith Lord orchestrating the Clone Wars. Anakin turned it over, his fingers tracing its edges as his thoughts churned. Palpatine had been a mentor, a confidant, someone Anakin had trusted when the Jedi Council's rigidity left him feeling misunderstood. The Chancellor's encouragement had bolstered him through years of doubt, yet now that trust lay in ruins. Palpatine was no friend. He was the puppet master of a galaxy-wide deception, manipulating both the Republic and the Separatists for his own gain. The Jedi, too, had failed Anakin, using a Sith-created clone army despite knowing its origins. And the Separatists, led by Count Dooku, Palpatine's apprentice, they were just another cog in the Sith's machine. The door hissed open, breaking his reverie. Padmé Amidala stepped inside, her presence a beacon of light in the dimness. She wore a deep blue gown, simple yet elegant, its fabric catching the faint glow of the room's lights. Her hair fell in soft waves, and her brown eyes were filled with concern as she crossed the threshold. "Anakin," she said, her voice gentle yet firm. "You've been in here for hours. Please, talk to me." He looked up, meeting her gaze. His blue eyes were clouded with turmoil, reflecting the storm within. "I don't know what to do, Padmé. Everything I thought I knew is a lie. The Jedi, the Republic, the war. It's all been twisted by Palpatine. I don't even know where I belong anymore." Padmé sat beside him on the bunk, taking his hand in hers. Her touch was warm, grounding him amidst the chaos. "I know it's overwhelming, but you're not alone in this. We can figure it out together." Anakin exhaled heavily, his gaze dropping to their intertwined hands. I've been thinking about my options, but none of them feel right. I could stay with the Separatists and try to expose Palpatine from the inside, but Dooku's part of this, and I can't trust him. He's Palpatine's pawn. Pam nodded, her expression thoughtful. What about the Jedi? Could you go back to them? He shook his head, a bitter edge creeping into his voice. They betrayed me, Padme. They knew the clone army was created by the Sith and used it anyway. How can I trust them after that? But they're still fighting for peace for the Republic, she countered softly. Maybe they could help you stop Palpatine. Or maybe they'd just use me again, he snapped and then softened, regret flickering in his eyes. I can't go back to being their tool. Padme squeezed his hand, her voice steady. There's another path. You could go rogue, take on Palpatine alone, but that's dangerous, Anakin. You'd have no one to back you up. He met her eyes, seeing the worry and love there. I know it's risky, but maybe that's what I have to do. I can't let Palpatine win, and I don't trust either side to stand with me. Anakin, she said firmly, you need to trust your instincts. Remember who you are at your core. A hero, a protector. Whatever you choose, make sure it's true to that. Her words struck a chord, and he nodded slowly, the fog in his mind beginning to clear. I need to think it over. But whatever I decide, I want you safe. This is my burden, not yours. Padme's eyes flashed with determination. Anakin, we're in this together. I'm not leaving you. He managed a faint smile, gratitude warming his chest. Thank you, Padme. I don't know what I'd do without you. On Coruscant, the Galactic Senate building stood as a towering symbol of power, and beneath its surface, corruption. Within its labyrinthine halls, Chancellor Palpatine's office was a sanctuary of opulence. Rich tapestries adorned the walls, ancient artifacts lined the shelves, and a massive desk of rare wood dominated the space. Palpatine sat behind it, his fingers steepled, gazing out at the cityscape as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the room. A holographic image flickered to life before him, Count Dooku, his apprentice and the Separatist leader. Dooku bowed deeply, his voice smooth and deferential. Master, Skywalker has discovered the truth about the clones and your identity. Palpatine's eyes narrowed, a flicker of irritation crossing his face. He had expected Skywalker to uncover fragments of the truth eventually, but not this quickly. This is unfortunate. Skywalker is a wild card, unpredictable. He must be dealt with. Dooku straightened, his eyes glinting with eagerness. I can eliminate him, Master. He's a threat to our plans. Palpatine raised a hand, silencing him. No, not yet. Skywalker's power is immense. If we can turn him, he could be a valuable asset. Dooku frowned, uncertain. But he knows too much. He could expose us. A cold, calculating smile curved Palpatine's lips. Then we ensure he doesn't. Send your best agents to capture him. I want him alive. I'll handle him myself. Dooku bowed again. As you wish, Master. The hologram vanished, and Palpatine leaned back, his mind whirring. Skywalker was a pawn with potential, a powerful piece on the board. If he could be swayed, the Sith's victory would be assured, but if he resisted, Palpatine would not hesitate to crush him. Soon, the galaxy will be mine, he murmured, the shadows deepening around him as if summoned by his will. In the Jedi Temple, the council chamber was a bastion of calm amidst the storm. Its circular design spoke of unity, but today tension hung heavy in the air. Mace Windu stood at the center, arms crossed, his expression stern. We have confirmation of the inhibitor chips and Palpatine's true identity, he said, his voice steady but urgent. He's the Sith Lord we've been hunting. We need to act fast. Master Yoda, seated in his chair, tapped his staff thoughtfully. Grave this news is. Act we must, but with caution. Palpatine, powerful he is, and the Senate under his sway. Obi-Wan Kenobi stepped forward, worry etching lines into his face. What about Anakin? He's with the Separatists now. If we can bring him back, he could help us take down Palpatine. Ahsoka Tano's hologram flickered into view, her voice resolute. Anakin's not lost, Masters. I believe he can be redeemed. We have to reach him. Mace shook his head, skeptical. He's a danger to us all. His defection has already cost us dearly, but if he can be turned, he'd be a powerful ally. Yoda nodded, his eyes narrowing. Go to him. Obi-Wan and Ahsoka must. Meanwhile, prepare to confront Palpatine. We will. A team of masters. I will lead. Obi-Wan bowed. We'll find Anakin and bring him home. Be careful, Windu added. Palpatine may already suspect us. Speed and secrecy are key. As the council dispersed, Obi-Wan lingered, guilt and hope warring within him. Anakin was family, a brother in all but blood. He couldn't lose him to the dark side, not now. Back on the Reckoning, Anakin paced his quarters, the weight of his decision bearing down on him. Staying with the Separatists was unthinkable with Dooku in Palpatine's pocket. Returning to the Jedi felt like swallowing a lie. They'd betrayed him by wielding a tainted army. He needed a third path, one where he could expose Palpatine and end the war on his terms. He turned to Padmé, who watched him with quiet strength. I've decided, he said, his voice firm. I can't stay here, and I won't go back to the Jedi. I have to do this alone. Her eyes widened. Anakin, that's too dangerous. You need allies. He shook his head. I can't risk anyone else. This is my fight. Before she could protest, the ship jolted, alarms blaring. Intruder alert! Intruder alert! Anakin grabbed his lightsaber, senses sharp. Stay here, he told Padmé, but she was already beside him, blaster in hand. They raced to the bridge where Separatist commandos, Dooku's elite, had stormed in, weapons raised. Surrender, Skywalker! Their leader barked, a towering figure in dark armor. Anakin ignited his lightsaber, its blue glow steady. Not today! The fight was brutal. Blaster bolts ricocheted as Anakin deflected them, his movements fluid but strained. Padmé fired with precision, dropping foes, but the odds were against them. Anakin was tiring, the commandos closing in. Then the door burst open and Obi-Wan and Ahsoka charged in, lightsabers blazing. Together they routed the attackers, their teamwork seamless. When the last commando fell, Anakin lowered his blade, breathing hard. What are you doing here? He asked. Obi-Wan smiled, though his eyes were grave. We're here to bring you home, Anakin. Ahsoka stepped closer, hopeful. You don't have to face this alone. Anakin glanced at Padmé, who nodded. All right, he said, relief washing over him. Let's end this war together. As they prepared to depart, a transmission crackled through the bridge's screen. Mace Windu, his face taut. Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, we've learned Palpatine plans to activate Order 66 soon. We need to move now. Anakin's pulse quickened. We have to stop him. Before they could act, another transmission cut in. A hooded figure, face hidden, voice distorted. Anakin Skywalker, you seek the truth. Come to Mustafar. There you will find what you seek. The screen went dark, leaving them stunned. Who was that? Padmé asked, voice shaky. Anakin frowned. I don't know. But Mustafar's where the Separatist leaders are. It could be a trap. Or a lead, Obi-Wan said, cautious. We need to be careful. Ahsoka looked at Anakin. What do you think? He took a deep breath. We have to go. If there's a chance to stop Palpatine, we take it. Padmé touched his arm. We're with you. Anakin nodded, resolve hardening. Then let's go to Mustafar. The ship leapt to hyperspace, the group standing united but wary. The stars blurred past, and Anakin felt the weight of destiny pressing in. Whatever awaited them, the galaxy's fate hung in the balance. The sleek Naboo starship pierced the ashen veil of Mustafar's atmosphere, its silver hull a fleeting glimmer against the planet's eternal dusk. Below, rivers of molten lava carved fiery paths through the blackened terrain, their glow painting the jagged rocks and towering industrial complexes in shades of crimson and gold. The air thrummed with the low growl of volcanic unrest, thick with sulfur and the promise of danger. This was Mustafar, a world of fire and shadow, a fitting stage for the revelations to come. Anakin Skywalker gripped the controls, his sharp eyes scanning the horizon. Beside him, Padmé Amidala sat with a steady gaze, her hands clasped tightly in her lap, betraying the worry she masked with resolve. In the rear of the cockpit, Obi-Wan Kenobi adjusted his robe, his bearded face etched with quiet determination, while Ahsoka Tano checked her dual lightsabers, her leku twitching slightly with anticipation. There, Anakin said, nodding toward a massive fortress perched precariously on the edge of a lava flow. The Separatist stronghold loomed like a dark sentinel, its durasteel walls and transparasteel spires defiant against the hellscape surrounding it. "Looks like a warm welcome," Ahsoka quipped, her tone dry but her eyes alert. Obi-Wan stroked his beard, his voice calm yet cautious. "We must proceed carefully. The message that brought us here was cryptic. We don't know who or what awaits us." Anakin's jaw tightened. "They promised the truth. After everything we've uncovered about Palpatine, I need to know what that means." Padmé reached out, her hand resting gently on his arm. "We'll face it together, Anakin, no matter what." He met her gaze, a flicker of gratitude softening his stern features. "Let's get down there." The ship descended smoothly onto a landing pad near the complex, the ramp hissing open to release a wave of searing heat. Cloaked in dark robes to meld with the shadows, the group moved swiftly toward the entrance, their footsteps muted against the rumble of the planet. To their surprise, the massive doors slid apart as they approached, revealing a figure silhouetted against the interior light. It was Lux Bonteri, his youthful face lined with urgency and defiance. Dressed in a Separatist officer's uniform, he carried himself with the air of someone who had seen too much yet refused to break. "Anakin Skywalker," Lux said, stepping forward. "I wasn't sure you'd come." Anakin's hand hovered near his lightsaber, suspicion narrowing his eyes. "You sent the message?" Lux nodded. "I did. I have information that could end this war, and expose the real enemy pulling the strings." Obi-Wan arched an eyebrow. "And why should we trust a Separatist?" Lux met his stare unflinchingly. "Because I want peace, like my mother did. The Separatists have been deceived, just as the Republic has. Palpatine is the mastermind, and I can prove it." Padmé's eyes widened. "What kind of proof?" "Follow me," Lux replied, turning back into the complex. "It's not safe out here." The group exchanged wary glances before stepping inside, their senses sharpened for any hint of betrayal. The interior of the stronghold was a stark contrast to the fiery chaos outside. Cool air circulated through the corridors, though the oppressive weight of their mission lingered. Droid patrols and armed guards roamed the halls, but Lux guided them through hidden passages, his steps sure and silent. "My mother believed in a peaceful resolution," Lux said as they moved. "After her death, I realized the war was being prolonged by forces we didn't understand. I started investigating, and I found something Palpatine doesn't want anyone to know." He paused at a reinforced door, punching in a code. The panel hissed open, revealing a small chamber filled with computer terminals and flickering holographic displays. "This is a secret archive," Lux explained, activating the systems. "It holds records of Palpatine's communications with the Separatist leaders, including Count Dooku." Anakin leaned forward, his curiosity piqued. "Show us!" Lux called up a series of hollow recordings. The first flickered to life, revealing Palpatine, his face cloaked in shadow, speaking to Dooku. "The time draws near, my apprentice. The Jedi will soon be eliminated, and the galaxy will bend to our will." Dooku's voice, smooth and assured, replied, "Yes, Master. Skywalker is the key. His power is unmatched." Palpatine's laughter was a chilling echo. "Indeed. He will be mine, and with him, the dark side will reign supreme." Anakin's blood turned to ice. His fists clenched, rage and betrayal surging through him. "He's been planning to turn me all along." Padmé's hand found his shoulder, her touch a steady anchor. "Anakin, this doesn't define you. You're stronger than his schemes." Obi-Wan studied the recordings, his expression grim. "This confirms it. Palpatine is the Sith Lord, orchestrating everything." Ahsoka's eyes narrowed. "But why bring us to Mustafar? What's here?" Lux switched to another recording. "There's more. Palpatine has a secret project on this planet, a cloning facility, but not for soldiers. He's experimenting with Force-sensitive clones." The group stared, stunned. "Force-sensitive clones?" Obi-Wan repeated, disbelief threading his voice. "That's unprecedented." Lux nodded. "He plans to create an army of dark side warriors, loyal only to him, and he's using Anakin's genetic material." Anakin felt the world tilt beneath him. "My genetic material? How?" "From your Jedi records," Lux said. "The Republic keeps samples for medical purposes. Palpatine must have accessed them. Fury roared within Anakin, but he forced it down, his voice steady. "We have to stop this. Where's the facility?" "Deeper in the complex," Lux replied. "It's heavily guarded. We'll have to fight our way in." Anakin ignited his lightsaber, the blue blade humming to life. "Then let's move!" They advanced through the corridors, Lux leading them toward the cloning facility. As they neared, alarms blared and battle droids poured into the halls. "Intruders!" a droid commander barked. "Eliminate them!" The group sprang into action. Anakin and Obi-Wan deflected blaster bolts with fluid precision, their lightsabers a blur of light. Ahsoka leapt forward, her dual blade slicing through metal with lethal grace. Padmé drew her blaster, her shots finding their marks with practiced accuracy. Lux, though less experienced, held his own, wielding a stolen blaster to cover their flank. They cut through the droid forces, but the tide seemed endless. Just as they risked being overwhelmed, the droids froze and collapsed, their circuits dark. "What happened?" Ahsoka asked, catching her breath. Lux checked a terminal. Someone deactivated the control system, but who? A voice, smooth and commanding, answered from the shadows. "I did." Count Dooku emerged, his red lightsaber glowing ominously. Skywalker, Kenobi, Tano, and Senator Amidala. What a delightful gathering. Anakin stepped forward, his blade raised. "Dooku, what's your game?" Dooku's smile was sharp and predatory. "I offer you an alliance. Together we can overthrow Palpatine and restore order to the galaxy." Obi-Wan shook his head. "You're a Sith. We'd be fools to trust you." "Perhaps," Dooku admitted, "but only I have the codes to access the cloning facility. You need me." Anakin glanced at his companions, doubt flickering in his eyes. "What do you want in return?" "Your allegiance," Dooku said. "Aid me against Palpatine, and I'll help you destroy his abominations." Padmé's voice cut through the tension. "We don't need you, Dooku. We'll find another way." But Anakin hesitated. He might be right. We're running out of options. Ahsoka's gaze was sharp. "Anakin, it's a trap. He's manipulating you." Dooku chuckled. "Astute, young Tano. But the choice is yours, Skywalker. Time is short." The complex shuddered, alarms screaming anew. "Intruder alert! Republic forces have breached the perimeter." Lux frowned. "Republic forces? Here?" The security feeds revealed not clone troopers, but advanced super battle droids, Palpatine's secret army. "They're not Republic," Obi-Wan said, realization dawning. "They're Palpatines, sent to silence us and the Separatists." Dooku's eyes darkened. "The game begins. We must act." Anakin made his choice. "We'll work with you for now, Dooku, but this changes nothing." Dooku inclined his head. "Agreed. Follow me." They raced toward the cloning facility, Dooku at the lead. Waves of Palpatine's droids met them, but their combined strength was formidable. Anakin and Dooku fought in eerie synchronicity, their lightsabers carving through metal. Obi-Wan and Ahsoka guarded the flanks, while Padmé and Lux provided covering fire. They reached the cloning lab, a cavernous chamber lined with incubation tanks, each holding a developing clone. Anakin approached one, staring into a face that mirrored his own, unscarred and serene. "This is monstrous," he murmured. Dooku moved to a console. "We can destroy this place, but first we must transmit the data. The galaxy needs to see Palpatine's crimes." Obi-Wan nodded. "If the Senate knows, they might oppose him." Lux began the upload, his hands swift on the controls. "This will take a few minutes." Time, however, was a luxury they lacked. The doors exploded inward, and General Grievous stormed in, his 4 lightsabers whirring. "Traitors!" Grievous rasped. "Sidious will reward me for your deaths." Dooku faced him, blade raised. "Grievous, you're a pawn. Palpatine uses you as he uses us all." Grievous's mechanical laugh grated on the air. "I care only for the kill." The fight was brutal. Grievous struck with relentless fury, his arms a deadly storm. Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Dooku countered, their blades clashing in a symphony of light and sound. Ahsoka shielded Lux, cutting down droids that breached the line, while Padmé toppled tanks to sow chaos. Grievous knocked Obi-Wan aside and lunged at Anakin. "You die now, Skywalker!" Anakin parried, his strength faltering. Dooku intervened, severing one of Grievous's arms. The cyborg roared, turning on Dooku, but Anakin seized the moment, hurling him into a console with the Force. Sparks flew and Grievous collapsed, smoldering. Lux shouted, "The transfer's done! Let's go!" But Dooku triggered a hidden lock, sealing the exits. "Not yet, Skywalker, you're no longer useful." Anakin's eyes blazed. "I knew it." Dooku smirked. "You're still a Jedi at heart. Palpatine saw your weakness." Force lightning crackled from Dooku's fingers, aimed at Anakin. Obi-Wan leapt forward, deflecting it with his blade. "Go!" Obi-Wan yelled. "Get to the ship!" Padmé pulled Anakin away. "Now!" With Ahsoka and Lux, they fled through the crumbling facility, dodging debris and lava bursts. Behind them, Obi-Wan clashed with Dooku. "You were a Jedi once," Obi-Wan said, straining. What corrupted you?" "The Jedi failed the galaxy," Dooku spat. "Only the Sith offer power." Dooku disarmed him, but the ceiling collapsed, lava flooding in. Dooku retreated, and Obi-Wan escaped through the chaos. The group reunited at the ship, Obi-Wan limping but alive. They launched as the facility erupted in flames. Lux checked the comms. "The data's out. The Jedi and Senate have it." Padmé smiled faintly. "This could turn the tide." A transmission crackled through, Mace Windu's voice urgent and grave. "Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, we got your message, but it's too late. Palpatine activated the Order 66. The clones have turned. The temple's under siege." Anakin's heart plummeted. "No!" Obi-Wan's face hardened. "To Coruscant. We end this now." Ahsoka's resolve shone through. "Let's go!" The ship leapt into hyperspace, racing toward Palpatine and Destiny. The Naboo starship dropped out of hyperspace, its sleek silver form cutting through the star-flecked void like a blade. Ahead loomed Coruscant, the galactic capital, its surface a dazzling tapestry of lights and towering spires that stretched into the heavens. But beneath this veneer of grandeur, chaos reigned. Smoke rose in thick black plumes from the Jedi Temple, a dark wound against the cityscape, while Republic ships swarmed the skies, their cannons flashing as they enforced the merciless directive of Order 66. Inside the cockpit, Anakin Skywalker gripped the controls, his knuckles white, his jaw clenched with a mix of determination and dread. Beside him stood Padmé Amidala, her face pale yet resolute, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. In the rear, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ahsoka Tano, and Lux Bonteri checked their gear, their expressions grim as they prepared for the battle ahead. The air was thick with the weight of their mission: stop Palpatine, save the Jedi, and end the war that had fractured the galaxy. "We're entering the atmosphere," Anakin said, his voice steady and despite the storm raging within him. "Hold on!" The ship plunged through the clouds, engines roaring as Anakin deftly dodged blaster fire and wove between the towering skyscrapers. Below, the streets of Coruscant were a war zone. Clone troopers, once protectors of the Republic, now hunted Jedi with cold precision. Fires blazed unchecked, and the distant screams of the dying reverberated through the Durasteel canyons. Anakin's heart twisted as his eyes caught a fleeting glimpse of a group of younglings fleeing a squad of clones, their small figures darting through the smoke and debris. Without a word, he banked the ship sharply, landing with a jolt on a nearby platform. "Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, get them to safety," he ordered, already unbuckling his harness and reaching for his lightsaber. Obi-Wan nodded, his blue eyes shadowed with resolve. "Be careful, Anakin, the temple's overrun." Ahsoka's dual lightsabers ignited with a sharp snap hiss, their green and blue blades casting an eerie glow as she leapt from the ship, her movements fluid and fierce. "We'll hold them off. Go stop Palpatine." Anakin turned to Padmé and Lux, his gaze intense. "You two, find a way to disable the clone control system. If we can deactivate those inhibitor chips, we can turn the tide." Padmé squeezed his hand, her touch a lifeline amid the chaos. "We will. May the Force be with you." With a final lingering look, Anakin ignited his own lightsaber, its blue blade humming to life, and charged into the fray, Obi-Wan and Ahsoka flanking him. Together they cut through the clone troopers, their blades a whirlwind of light and motion. The younglings, trembling and wide-eyed, were ushered aboard the ship, safe for the moment. As the starship lifted off, Anakin's eyes locked onto the Jedi Temple, its once majestic spires now wreathed in smoke and flame. This had been his home, his sanctuary. And now it was a slaughterhouse. Rage and grief surged within him, but he forced them into focus. Palpatine was the puppet master behind this nightmare, and he would pay. Inside the Jedi Temple, the halls were a tableau of devastation. Bodies littered the marble floors, Jedi and clones alike, their lives snuffed out in a brutal act of betrayal. The air was thick with the acrid stench of smoke and the metallic tang of blood. Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka fought their way through the corridors, their lightsabers deflecting blaster bolts and striking down the clones who had once been their brothers in arms. "Anakin, this way!" Obi-Wan shouted, pointing toward the spiraling staircase that led to the council chamber. "Palpatine will be in the Chancellor's suite." They sprinted through the wreckage, boots pounding against the cracked stone, the sounds of battle echoing around them. As they approached the suite, a squad of elite clone troopers blocked their path, their blasters primed, their armor gleaming under the flickering lights. "Stand down," Anakin commanded, his voice low and dangerous. "You don't have to do this." The clones hesitated, their faceless visors concealing any hint of emotion, but their leader stepped forward, his tone flat and mechanical. "We follow orders, General. That's our duty." Anakin's chest tightened. These were men he'd led into battle, men who had trusted him with their lives. "Your orders are wrong. Palpatine's manipulating you." The clone shook his head, unwavering. "We have no choice." Before Anakin could press further, Ahsoka sprang into action, her twin blades flashing as she disarmed the troopers with surgical precision. Obi-Wan joined her, his movements calm and methodical, and together they subdued the squad without spilling blood. "Go!" Ahsoka urged, her breath ragged from the fight. "We'll hold them here." Anakin met her gaze, a silent exchange of trust and sorrow passing between them. "May the Force be with you." And he turned and ran toward the suite, the weight of his destiny pressing down on him like the gravity of a collapsing star. Meanwhile, Padmé and Lux slipped into the Republic's Central Command Center, a sprawling hub of technology and surveillance buried deep within Coruscant's underlevels. The room buzzed with frenetic energy, technicians hunched over consoles, officers shouting commands, and droids whirring as they processed streams of data. "We need to access the clone control system," Lux whispered, his eyes darting across the room. "If we can override the inhibitor chips, we can stop this." Padmé nodded, her mind racing as she scanned their surroundings. "There, that terminal, it's linked to the neural network." They moved through the shadows, their steps silent against the polished floor, avoiding the watchful eyes of the guards. Reaching the console, Lux's fingers danced across the keys, slicing through layers of security protocols with the expertise of a seasoned hacker. "Almost there," he muttered, a sweat beading on his brow as lines of code scrolled across the screen. "Just need to..." A piercing alarm shattered the tension, red lights flashing as a voice blared over the intercom. "Intruder alert! Sector 5! Blaster fire erupted as guards stormed the room, their boots thundering against the floor. Padmé drew her blaster, her shots ringing out with deadly accuracy, while Lux worked frantically, his focus unbroken. "Got it!" he shouted, slamming the enter key as the override sequence began transmitting. "It's going out now!" The guards closed in, their numbers overwhelming, but then the clones froze. Their weapons clattered to the ground, their bodies rigid as the inhibitor chips deactivated. Confusion rippled through their ranks, the fog of programmed obedience lifting. Padmé seized the opportunity, stepping forward with authority. "Troopers, stand down! The Chancellor has betrayed the Republic! Help us restore order!" The clones exchanged uncertain glances, then their commander lowered his blaster, his voice thick with emotion. "Yes, Senator, we're with you." Back at the Jedi Temple, Anakin burst into the Chancellor's suite, his lightsaber blazing in his hand. The room was a stark contrast to the carnage outside, opulent with rich tapestries lining the walls, ancient Sith artifacts displayed like trophies, and a massive desk dominating the space. Behind it sat Palpatine, his fingers steepled, a serene smile playing on his lips. "Anakin," he greeted, his voice smooth and oily, dripping with false warmth. "I've been expecting you." Anakin advanced, his blade steady, its blue light casting long shadows across the room. "It's over, Palpatine. Your lies end here." Palpatine's smile widened, his yellow eyes glinting with malice. "Oh, my dear boy, you misunderstand. The game is just beginning." With a flick of his wrist, Palpatine unleashed a torrent of Force lightning, jagged blue bolts crackling toward Anakin with lethal intent. Anakin raised his lightsaber, deflecting the energy, but the sheer force of it drove him back, his boots sliding across the polished floor. "You're powerful, Anakin," Palpatine taunted, rising from his chair with an air of unshakable confidence. "But you're still a child, playing at heroics. Join me, and together we can rule the galaxy." Anakin's mind reeled, flashes of his recurring visions, Padmé's death, the galaxy in flames, clawing at his resolve. "I won't let you destroy everything I love." Palpatine's laughter was a chilling, hollow sound that echoed through the chamber. "Love? Love is weakness, Anakin. It's a chain that binds you. Embrace the dark side and you'll be free." For a moment Anakin wavered, the seductive promise of power whispering in his ear. But then he thought of Padmé's unwavering faith, Obi-Wan's steadfast guidance, Ahsoka's fierce loyalty, of all those who believed in him. "No!" he said, his voice cutting through the doubt. "I choose my own path." Palpatine's face contorted with rage, his calm facade shattering. "Then you will die." He drew a crimson lightsaber from beneath his robes, its blade igniting with a sinister hum. The duel that followed was a clash of raw power and dark mastery, Anakin's strength and aggression pitted against Palpatine's cunning and precision. Their blades met in a shower of sparks, the room trembling with the force of their blows, artifacts toppling from their pedestals. Obi-Wan and Ahsoka burst through the door, their lightsabers joining the fight. Together the three pressed Palpatine, their movements synchronized, a dance of light against shadow. Obi-Wan's strikes were measured, Ahsoka's swift and unpredictable, while Anakin's were fueled by a desperate fury. But Palpatine was a force of nature, his power seemingly limitless. With a blast of Force energy, he hurled Obi-Wan against the wall, the Jedi Master crumpling with a groan. Turning on Ahsoka, Palpatine's blade sliced through her defenses, sending her sprawling, blood seeping from a gash on her arm. Anakin's rage erupted, his strikes growing wilder, more relentless. "You won't take them from me!" Palpatine parried effortlessly, his eyes gleaming with sadistic delight. Ah, the anger of a Jedi! How delightful! Their blades locked, the hum of their lightsabers vibrating through the air, their faces inches apart. "I'm not a Jedi," Anakin growled, his voice raw with conviction. "I'm something more." With a surge of strength born from desperation and love, Anakin twisted his wrist, disarming Palpatine and sending the Sith's lightsaber skittering across the floor. Palpatine stumbled back, his composure fracturing, his breath ragged. "Now, Anakin," Obi-Wan urged, pulling himself to his feet, his voice strained but firm. "End this." Anakin raised his blade, poised to strike, but Palpatine's voice slithered through the haze of his anger. "If you kill me, you'll never save Padmé. Only I can prevent her death." Anakin froze, the vision of Padmé's lifeless body flashing before his eyes, as vivid and tormenting as ever. "What do you mean?" Palpatine's smile returned, triumphant and venomous. "The dark side holds the key to life itself. Join me, and she will live." Anakin's hand trembled, the lightsaber wavering in his grip. He looked to Obi-Wan, then to Ahsoka, their faces etched with fear and hope. "Don't listen to him, Anakin," Ahsoka pleaded, clutching her wounded arm. "He's lying." But the fear in Anakin's heart was a chasm, threatening to swallow him whole. He couldn't lose Padmé, not after everything they'd endured. The door burst open and Padmé rushed in, her eyes wide with urgency, her presence a beacon in the darkness. "Anakin, don't! He's manipulating you." Palpatine's gaze snapped to her, his expression darkening. "Ah, Senator Amidala, your timing is impeccable." Anakin's heart pounded, torn between love and doubt. "Padmé, get out of here!" But she stood her ground, her voice steady and unshakable. "Anakin, I love you. Trust in that love. Trust in yourself." Palpatine raised his hand, lightning crackling at his fingertips, his patience exhausted. Enough sentimentality. Die, all of you. Anakin moved without thinking, leaping in front of Padmé, his lightsaber absorbing the brunt of the lightning. The energy surged through him, pain searing every nerve, but he held his ground, his will unbreakable. "Anakin!" Padmé screamed, reaching for him as he staggered under the onslaught. With a final, desperate roar, Anakin redirected the lightning back at Palpatine, channeling the Sith Lord's own power against him. Palpatine's screams filled the chamber, a sound of pure agony and disbelief as his body disintegrated into ash, consumed by the darkness he had wielded. The room fell silent, save for Anakin's labored breathing. He slumped to the floor, his strength spent, his lightsaber clattering beside him. Padmé dropped to her knees, cradling his head in her lap, tears streaming down her face. "Anakin, stay with me, please." Obi-Wan and Ahsoka knelt beside them, their faces a mixture of relief and grief. I did it," Anakin whispered, his voice faint, his eyes searching Padmé's. "I stopped him." Padmé smiled through her tears, brushing a lock of hair from his forehead. "You did, my love, you saved us all." Anakin's gaze flickered, the light within him fading. "I'm sorry for everything." Obi-Wan took his hand, his voice thick with emotion. "You have nothing to apologize for, Anakin. You're a hero." Ahsoka wiped her eyes, her voice trembling but strong. "We're proud of you, Master." Anakin's eyes locked with Padmé's, a final, tender smile gracing his lips. "I love you." And with that, the Chosen One breathed his last, his spirit released from the turmoil that had defined his life. In the days that followed, the galaxy began to mend its wounds. The clone troopers, freed from the inhibitor chips thanks to Lux's override, laid down their arms, their loyalty restored to the Republic they had once served. The Jedi, though diminished, emerged from hiding, their order preserved by the sacrifices of the fallen. Palpatine's death sent shockwaves through the Senate. With Lux's evidence, data logs and recordings exposing the Chancellor's treachery, the truth came to light, and the war ended, not with a cataclysm, but with a fragile promise of peace. On Naboo, a quiet ceremony was held beside the shimmering lake, where Anakin and Padmé had once pledged their love. His body rested on a pyre, surrounded by wildflowers, as the mourners, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, Padmé, Lux, and a handful of loyal clones, stood in solemn silence. The flames rose, their light reflecting on the water, a mirror to the stars above. Padmé, her belly swollen with the twins she carried, placed a hand over her womb, a bittersweet smile on her lips. "He'll live on through them," she whispered, her voice steady despite her grief. Obi-Wan nodded, his eyes fixed on the horizon. "The Force will guide us as it always has." Ahsoka, her gaze distant yet resolute, spoke softly. "The galaxy will remember him, not as a Jedi or a Separatist, but as a man who chose his own path." As the sun dipped below the hills, casting a golden glow across the lake, the saga of Anakin Skywalker came to a close. His journey had been one of conflict and redemption, of love and loss. And though he was gone, his legacy endured, a beacon of hope in a galaxy forever changed.